Hey, good morning and welcome to the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. This is episode 149. My name is Isaac Tauaefa. I'm here with
Josh Straussberger.
Lucas Pinckard.
Good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
My man.
My man.
This is the most gentlemanly we've started off ever on this podcast.
Ever.
It's out of respect.
Yeah.
And we're turning a new leaf. This is a new year.
No.
Well,
Nah.
we can just say it.
Okay, yeah, we're turning a new leaf.
Turning a new leaf.
I don't even have my knife out or anything.
Absolutely nothing will
That's
change.
how not...
I'm going to blind you with my green laser in
Oh,
my
I
pocket.
saw that.
Yeah.
You already tried.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to the sponsors of today's podcast episode. We want to say thank you to a friend of the ministry, Chad Smith, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. And we also want to give a shout out to Jocko Fuel.
Now, did we verify whether or not this is the Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers? We can neither confirm nor deny that that's the case.
It's not.
So we can deny that
I say
that's
we
the case.
deny.
We deny. Yeah.
Based on a very in-depth yet brief social media search, it did not look like him.
No. It did look like he's with a company called Flatline Fiberco that sells gunslings.
Well, yeah, now we're doxing him.
Well, I'm just giving a shout out, making
Thanks,
sure credit
Chad.
goes to the right guy. So thank
Yeah.
you, Chad. And we'd love to
And if you
get
do
connected
drum,
with you.
give us a holler. We're looking for somebody in the
Do
worship
drum.
band. Yep.
Yeah, and if you look like Will Ferrell as well,
Yeah.
you can reach out.
I feel like that's overplayed.
Okay.
With drummers. Anyway, Jocko Fuel. If you want the cleanest, best supplements on the market, go to jockofuel.com. I'm about to crack open my black cherry vanilla. Jocko, go. Yep, get me rolling for this episode.
I should have got
Josh
one just so I could crack it.
Yeah, no,
but
you decided you wanted coffee and you don't want to be part of the group.
I don't know why.
Here's the thing. Don't be like Josh. Get Jocko Fuel.
I'm drinking
Use
water
code
and coffee.
JJJ20.
Just go in
Save
that
you
cup.
20% on the way out. They've got creatine. We were talking with JP's sister, Sarah, about it. She's a captain in the Air Force. She's a surgeon for them. Does like a lot of like, she was talking about some of the training stuff she did over the holidays, and it's absolutely insane. But she was saying she is now doing 10 milligrams of creatine a day.
Yep.
Or sorry, no, 10 grams of creatine a day.
Yep.
5 in the morning, 5 at night. And the cognitive function that it helps with, there's over 680 studies on creatine. They've got a new product where you've got a colostrum and collagen together to help with joints and a lot of like the soft tissue stuff that some folks have going on. Also really, really good for your skin. All kinds of awesome stuff over there at Jocko Fuel. Use code JJJ20 and sign up for the Def Reset, and you'll get some more deals and discounts and stuff as we kick off the new year.
Sick, bro.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Sick. I've been doing 10 grams a day, but at the same time.
Okay.
So maybe I should break it up. If the surgeon's breaking it up 5 and 5,
Yes.
I think that's probably wise.
Yeah.
And it's not a hard thing to do,
No.
really.
No, that's a quick, flavorless, you just add it to whatever. I like it in coffee in the morning because you can't even taste it. It doesn't really change the texture at all.
There was I forget who did it. There was a thing in, maybe it was Men's Health, where a guy was doing like 25 grams a day, and he did that for a month, and he was complaining about like how hard it was to get down, and it just made me think like, what terrible creatine are you using? Right?
Yeah.
Because like the Jocko Fuel stuff is nearly instantly gone.
Yeah.
But also like I've used other brands, throughout. I mean, before Jocko Fuel was a thing, I was using creatine, right?
Yeah.
And most of those just disappear. Like if you use concrete or something like that, it's such a small thing. You can get some pretty rancid flavoring if you overdo it. But I don't understand how he's ended up with like this chalky, gritty stuff, because he was doing like 10, 5, 10. He was like, oh, it's so hard. Like rough.
What?
Maybe.
Yeah, but trash.
Yeah, but
Yeah, like completely dissolving. It's good stuff. And then I just saw, I've been seeing a bunch of stuff about this. And I think it was a neuroscientist or something.
it sounds
Rhonda
fancy.
Fitzpatrick, do you know her?
No.
She's
Rhonda Rousey?
biologist or something. No.
Different.
No. We're going in a different direction. This is a scientist, so it's a different way. But she was taking, or she was talking about mitigating the effects of getting poor sleep. Like if you don't sleep, like you just had a night where your kids are up all night, which for us that's like at least 3
Every
times a
night,
week.
yeah.
But like you barely get any sleep at all through the night, and the next day you're going to be just depleted and destroyed. She was recommending, I think it was 20 or 25. I think it was 25 in a day to mitigate the effects of sleeplessness. And it's not just a Band-Aid. Like it doesn't just cover up the effects. Apparently it can, she was saying that you operate better performance-wise, like cognitively, on 25 milligrams of no sleep than you do if you took no creatine, you just got a regular night of sleep.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's pretty incredible.
And I don't think she recommends it often.
No, don't do it every night. But, like, man, you have those days, like, you want to get back on the horse and let your head, be focused and not all over the place or falling asleep all the time. And it's worked for me a couple times. I've had to do that.
It's crazy. We're doing all this research on all these other things like this will help, this will help, this will help. And people like creatine, like, nah.
Yeah.
Creatine gave me roid rage. What?
It's been around forever.
Yeah. We used to get it at the feed store because it's something that like a lot of farmers would put in supplements for their cattle.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so we had a guitar tech who was an old school bodybuilder, and he would buy, like, when he would just go to the feed store for his stuff, and he'd bring us back these giant bags of creatine, and he'd just like get a big Tupperware dish full of it, and he's like, here you go. Even that was not as chalky as what this dude was describing.
Even that,
Yeah. So,
well, good. Well, go get your creatine at jockofuel.com.
Hashtag New Year, New You.
Yes. Do you.
Yeah.
New Year, New You, do you.
New Year, do you.
Yeah. Get Jocko Fuel creatine and use discount code
J&JJ 20.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
There you go.
I did grab us some of the fruity cereal protein.
Oh, the new one, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it any good?
No, I got some
No,
for
it's
us.
not good.
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
I bought some for us.
Oh, right.
And it's on its way here.
Gotcha.
And then we'll try it, and that way we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Do a little, it's called a cupping in the coffee world.
Oh.
Yeah, when you try
coffee.
something.
Dudes are
Hey.
What?
such nerds, man.
Hey.
And I love coffee.
Hey.
I love nerds.
All right.
I am a nerd.
All right.
I mean, how many reels do I send you about Lord of the Rings?
Oh, bro.
Almost exclusive. That and some other heinous ones.
The algorithm will take over eventually, where it's like
man.
all I'm seeing is Lord of the Rings, which they can be pretty funny.
I just saw a shirt that says, or that has a Gandalf fighting the Balrog on the front or on the back. I can't remember. It's like a huge graphic, and it's going to be mine.
Yeah,
soon.
you need it.
Yeah, I went and looked at the website. I scoped it out. They have it in my size. Looked at how much it costs. I'm getting it soon, and I will
practically in the
Part
cart.
of February's budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So sick. Man, well, it's great to be with you guys this morning. It's great to have Strauss back on the podcast. I've been talking crap about you for months now.
I know I'm not completely caught up, but I've heard a few shots taken in there. So yeah.
Just to kind of jolt you awake on your long drives.
Yeah.
As you're driving out to your
It really helps me.
to your jobs.
I'm almost done for the day, and then I hear that, and I'm like, we're just gonna keep driving.
Let's drive through the night. Got enough rage boiling up inside of me. Well, it's really good. Well, hey, well, first of all, Strauss, I want to ask you about have you been able to train at all? Like, I know you've been super busy with traveling out of town, but have you had chances to? Because we miss each other a lot of times.
Yeah, I trained a little the beginning of December, and then we were gone for 11 days in Orlando, and then came back, and I had like 4 days, and then we had our last FTX. So it's been since the beginning of December, and then I was home, but then the weird holiday schedule at the gym and stuff, we didn't go in. So next week I'm back.
Do you ever get to train when you go to the musters and they have the jiu-jitsu thing at the last day, or are you usually busy?
Sometimes I have. Lately I've just been busy because we've been doing an FTX right after, so I have to get everybody registered. I have to get everything back to the hotel. So yeah.
Not as fun. It's not like a free-for-all. You don't get to go just drop in and hop on Dean Lister's neck. Yeah. That's good though, man. Yeah. It's been a little weird just timing-wise, jiu-jitsu training. The holidays are always weird. Formiga's in Brazil. the schedules are a little wonky. I trained a couple times last week, leading up to New Year's Eve, and then a couple times after. But it's just limited to that morning class. I haven't been to a noon in a while, which I'm excited to get back into. Noon, 'cause, you know, those are hefty classes,
meat grinders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're a blast. Kramer's been teaching the last couple in the morning class. Like JB was there teaching. So for anyone that is, maybe this is your first episode listening, we all train at 5 Jiu-Jitsu under Formiga. So he's a just world-class competitor and instructor, and we're so honored to get to train under him. And there's a lot of really good black belts. Well, a lot of good everybody that trains there.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that trains there, his name is JB, black belt from, he's a Machado black belt. Grew up training with Carlos Machado. Like, got his black belt from Carlos, was his roommate at one point.
Yeah.
Phenomenal jiu-jitsu, and we're so blessed when we get to learn from him. But he'll teach every once in a while in those morning classes, and
that's cool.
Man, it's just cool. Every time he teaches, it's so refreshing because he makes it so simple.
Yeah.
And he's always like, oh yeah, if they do this, then you just do this. He teaches like how he rolls.
Yeah.
And how he rolls is so laid back, and it just looks effortless for him. Like he's not doing anything.
Yeah. And he's not a large human.
No.
But he effortlessly move people off of him. It's like
that are twice his size.
Yeah.
Literally. I'll roll with him.
And he's like putting zero output out. Like it's beautiful.
It is, but that proves to you, like, that makes it feel like his, like, jiu-jitsu is really this thing that you can master and then become, like, you can learn jiu-jitsu, a type of jiu-jitsu, or your skill can get to a certain point where you can, like, easily sweep people. It's all timing and timing, technique, it's leverage. He's not muscling a bunch of stuff. He's just hitting the perfect timing on things, and it looks like he's doing impossible stuff. So it was really cool. We got to learn from him. And he does a bunch of stuff that's like, he calls it old school stuff, but I just don't see a lot of people doing it. But some of it's so basic and simple that it's just, like, again, mind blowing. Like, people talk about invisible jiu-jitsu. That, I think that's kind of what it is. It's what it means is, like, he's doing something. Like, if you watch what he's doing, you're kind of like, wow, that looks like he barely did anything at all. But when you're rolling with him, you're like, dude, I felt like you flipped me over.
Yeah.
And all he did was move his knees to the side. You know, like he was, you know, he's always helping us out with, like, the John Wayne sweeps and lasso sweeps and all this. And so much of it is dependent on just what the other person does. Okay, just hang out. You know, they're gonna try to pass to this side. Oh yeah, we'll just pivot and roll them over, and he just makes it look so easy, and it's cool. But
I remember one time we were in the old building, and we rolled, and afterwards it was like the last roll, and he was like, I want to show you a few things. He was like, and he's super nice too. Like,
yeah.
And he said something to me. He was like, you're a big guy, quit rolling like a little guy. And I was like, I didn't realize I was. And like, this smaller guy is like, when you do this, like, he was just showing me all these ways to, like, drop his weight, and he can make himself feel like he weighs more than I do. And just, like you said, those little things that it's...
Dude, but that gives me hope. I don't know. I see a guy's game like that, and I think, man, if I could just learn it the way that he's doing it, and I can replicate it and do it just like he's doing it, like he said, he's like, man, you should be able to, like, you could hold anybody down if you could do this, you know? And then you roll with some people, and you're like, I just can't, no matter how big you are compared to them, it's like, I just can't hold them down. They're too good at escaping. But you watch him, and he can hold anybody down.
Right.
So, again, there's something he's doing that, you know, if I could just learn it, I'd be a lot better at jiu-jitsu than I am.
Right.
But yeah, so class has kind of been like that. Just giving you a little update on, like, how I've been teaching the Wednesday morning class, unless Kramer comes, and then I'll have him teach that, or David, which has been cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, jiu-jitsu, obviously still going strong, and grateful for the camaraderie and the fellowship that we find in the jiu-jitsu world. And I see that, I just see it, the mission of Jesus in jiu-jitsu playing out so much in school, because through that consistent training, I just see opportunities to minister to these dudes. Like, we have, I teach a Bible study on Tuesday right after the morning class, and it started with just a couple guys. Will Tate and I were going, and we were sharing the gospel with these with the owners of Relive Health.
Yeah.
And they, I think Nick had maybe been involved in church at some point in his life, but like Johnny wasn't really walking with the Lord, and we started just sharing the Bible with them, and they wanted us to teach, like, hey, help us with scripture a little bit. And so it was just us having coffee at their shop before they opened. It just turned into, they ended up giving their life to Christ like a few weeks later.
Yeah.
And then they got baptized a couple weeks later. Will baptized them. And then dudes started showing up to this Bible study, and like guys that don't even train, they just heard about it from someone else, and they're like, is it cool if I bring my friend? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Now we got like 25 guys in there sometimes. Like, they don't all come at the same time. It's like in this little lobby of that Relive Health. We use their lobby before they open for business, and it's kind of way, like, I think Johnny feels like that's one of the ways he can give to ministry is or ministering to others is letting us use the lobby for that. And man, it's just grown and blossomed. And I'm so excited for just a new year and more guys inviting their brothers and friends. And so we got a bunch of guys that don't even train, guys that live far away that just heard about it and came, and it's been real cool. But that's been blossoming. But it's because of jiu-jitsu we're able to pour into those guys. And so, man, it's really cool. And again, I'm always, we repeat a lot of stuff on this podcast, but I think a lot of it has to do with, there's new listeners all the time. People are just figuring out, what is this, and or they see it pop up and they check out an episode. And so, I want to reiterate kind of on behalf of all of us and the whole ministry. It's like our goal and our mission is to help to foster this community and fellowship that already exists in jiu-jitsu, but people think that's the end all be all. They think that's the deepest form of it and the most fulfilling form of it. But we're trying to show them that there's something deeper, which is a relationship with Jesus, and then being in community with other people who have a relationship with Jesus, and the strength that you can find there. Which, if they're plugged into a church, they know what that is. Yeah. And I mean plugged in. I don't mean just attend to a church. If you're actually involved in a church and you have a community of people around you that you really love and you trust and you have a relationship with, then you understand what I'm talking about. But for a lot of people out there, just casually attend church or don't attend church at all, they're totally missing out on that Christian fellowship. And so we're trying to bridge the gap there and we're not trying to be the church. We're just trying to help foster this fellowship in the jiu-jitsu community and ultimately plug people into churches so that they would say, man, this is really cool. Church is not what I thought. Thought church was a bunch of whatever, uptight nerds and, people that we're not. And again, I say that affectionately. I love nerds, but but they get this idea about what church is, and they're like, I'll never go there. I'm never stepping foot into church, or they had a bad experience, or they had church hurt.
Right.
But we're trying to show them, like, nah, man, you can be surrounded by people just like here at jiu-jitsu that love the Lord and got your back and are going to walk with you, and they're going to be real with you. And so we have a real beautiful opportunity to get to do that with the ministry. I'm excited for this next year just to do more of that same thing.
Yeah. And the community it's so cool too. Like I got to talk to the friendships we've made along the way. Like, I don't know how many people either on Instagram or the ones that have my phone number, like, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Like, it's little things, but like, and they may be all over the world, but different interactions we've had, connections. And then,
dude, it means a lot when you, like, especially that someone, I totally understand that experience because I got texts from people in the community that I only met because of jiu-jitsu that are reaching out, like on a holiday, and on Christmas especially, because that's an important one. You're spending it with your family, but you shoot out a couple texts to maybe some people that had an impact in your life, and so to get those texts from people who are only met because of the ministry is really cool. And it's exciting for this new year. So as we kind of set up for this new year and all the things that we're going to do, like, we have a lot of exciting things to announce, like what we're headed toward. But I really wanted to, I was talking to these guys right before the podcast, and I wanted to read a scripture first about purpose. So this is Proverbs 16:9 that Strauss is actually going to read.
Good thing I found it before we started.
No kidding. Talking about being thrown out of the bus.
I didn't realize I had to read today.
Do you need your readers?
I should have brought my bigger Bible.
Racking
This
your
is my
brain.
truck Bible. All right, we ready?
Yeah.
Proverbs 16:9. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps.
Yeah. So this is about purpose, obviously, and about fulfilling that purpose, and about how in our life we have, we try our best to orient our lives around the purpose we think we're called to, and then walking that out, planning to carry that out. But I think this actually shows kind of a cool thing from my understanding of this, because I always thought it meant like I always thought this was sort of like a God can't undermine you, but I mean your plans. I was thinking it for a long time. I was like, yeah, you think you're planning your ways, but God actually plans your ways. That's how I took this scripture. But I think it's more collaborative, and I could be wrong. We'll have a resident pastor to chime in here, but. This is the NLT version that I have. It says, we can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. And I think that's not in spite of. I think it means that we're planning out our ways. We're trying to steward the opportunity we have. We're using the mind of Christ that's in us. We're using the sound mind that God gave us to make plans and logical plans to achieve something. And I think that God, as we're walking in accordance with his will and trying to glorify him in what we do, that he's actually helping us establish our feet along the path. That's the way that I'm understanding this. Lucas, is that, you think that's a good interpretation? Is that,
Heresy.
Where are you at it? Heresy.
No, that's solid, right?
I knew it.
There's two things. Yeah, there are a lot of things within Psalms and Proverbs that kind of give us that same sentiment, right?
Right.
If we were to go to verse 1 of chapter 16, it says, the reflections of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. Like there are things that we do, there are plans that we make, but it's important that we realize that God is sovereign over all of those things. Another one, let's see, is 19:21 was the other one I was thinking of, I think. Where is that? There you go. Many plans are in a person's heart, but the Lord's decree will prevail. This talks a little bit, or is kind of the same as it is when we look at the book of James in the New Testament, right? It says, you made a plan to go to such and such a place, and you're going to stay there for a year and make such and such a profit, but you never say if the Lord wills. Right. And what we see in Proverbs, what we're seeing in Psalms, all these verses in Proverbs, and there's another verse in Psalms we'll get to in a second that essentially shares that same sentiment, right? That we are, yes, we can make all the plans that we want to, but the Lord's will prevail. Yeah. And if we are chasing after him, then, and making sure that he has sort of I've always phrased it like a seat at the table, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Like when we're making the plans, that we're including him in those things. We're asking for input. We're fasting and praying and doing all those kinds of things. That he might not keep us from stubbing our toe on stuff, but he'll keep us from disaster, unless that disaster is what we need in order to to fulfill that. A couple other ones that I was looking at this morning. Trust in the Lord. This is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways know him, and he will make your paths straight. Mm-hmm. And then a Psalm of David in Psalm chapter 5, verse 8. It says, Lord, lead me in your righteousness because of my adversaries. Make your way straight before me. Mm-hmm. This same sort of idea that if we are pressing into the Lord with obedience, then he's going to take care of all of those things. And I like, I'm sure we'll get to it here in a second. The things we kind of talked about pre-show is that this is more of, this is pretty open-handed whenever we go into it, right? If you, and whether it's with what you feel like you're supposed to be doing, or whether it's spiritually, whether it's in service to the church, whether it is leading your family, whether it's leading at work or whatever, that the things that you hold really, really tightly, it will be difficult for people to have input in. And that's not good leadership, and it's also not a great way to engage with God, and it's a terrible way to engage with your spouse.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, this is what we're doing. Like, well, I think actually no. You know, I'm just kind of hell bent on doing these things, and this verse, along with these others, are just encouragement. They're like, hey, make your plan. That's good, right? There are all kinds of Bible verses that talk about being prudent, being shrewd, and all of those sorts of things. Like, do those things for sure, but make sure that, you know, God is getting more than a consult, and that you're actually submitting to Him all the way through this, and then that's what's going to make you successful.
That's like that's guidance for how the decisions are to be made in pursuit of what you believe God has for you, and you'll have a better. You're not always going to get this super clear picture of what exactly He wants you to do. Sometimes people like know when they're young like exactly what they're going to do, but for the most part, most people are trying to figure it out, and they're seeking the Lord. So Tadashi, when he came, he shared we shared a clip of him, a devotional that he made for us a few weeks ago, and he was talking about this idea of like, he was talking about the Word of God is a lamp for my feet and a light for my path, and how a lamp, like if you've ever used a lamp to get around, it's it's slow because you only see a little bit in front of you, and you just take up that space, and then it illuminates the next little bit of way. And I think that a lot of times God's plan is that way, where it's like, if He just gave it to you all the way through, super bright lights, all the way to the finish line, you wouldn't have to rely on Him much. You know, if you just already knew what to do, like, you would not be in a posture of surrender. Right. You wouldn't often meet this, you wouldn't often get into the mode where you say, Lord, I don't know where to go from here. I trust you, and I need your guidance and direction. You know? Right. But I used to feel...
We want God's Word to be a spotlight.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like
that's it.
Here's all 12 points of what you're going to face, what you need to do.
Yeah. Thy word is the bat signal.
Yeah. Check in with me when you get there.
Got it.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah. Sweet.
But I used to feel really... the word is paralyzed, and they use it in this book. So I have this book if you're not watching online. This is Fighting Shadows by Jefferson Bethke and John Tyson, and I've led a lot of guys through this book after I worked through this book last year, from like January to September-ish, and it was amazing and led to so many good discussions. So I've used it a couple times to help disciple some people, but. This really stood out to me recently. I was going back through this book with my guys at the Bible study, and this came up. So this is a chapter on this book. Fighting Shadows is about the shadows that through sin men find themselves trapped in, and I mean sin like in all instances. I don't mean necessarily always you cause something to happen, but maybe you allowed a certain mode of thinking or type of thinking that leads you to a place where you end up in this hopelessness, or you're far from the Lord. He's not the solution. You're trying to grind your way out of it or whatever. But this is called the Shadow of Futility chapter. This subchapter is called the Call to Freedom. So I'll just read it from here. There are two valuable concepts I'm constantly applying to my work: dots versus circles, and calling versus assignments. Dots versus circles. You want to know the quickest way to feel paralyzed as a follower of God? See God's will as a dot. When you see God's will as a tiny speck, you imagine that to be in God's will, you must hit a very specific bullseye. What job should I take? Who should I marry? What should I give my life to? When you see God's will as a dot, you may feel that even if you barely miss, you've still missed. Anything other than a bullseye is a failure, and the frustration adds up. When you live with constant concern that you're not in God's exact specific will, it drains your energy and warps how you see your life. But what if God's will is more like a circle, a sandbox to play in rather than a bullseye you need to hit every single time? In a sandbox, you can play in this corner or that corner, but you are still in the sandbox. The point is that you don't want to step out of the sandbox, but there's a lot of freedom within the sandbox, right? Living in God's will brings us options and freedom within the range that's defined not so much by the bullseyes we hit, but by the big parameters of obedience to godly principles paired with right motives. Here's another way to look at it. Imagine if a dad said, You need to go to this school, marry this person, take this job, and so on. We'd call that dad controlling. But a dad who is in relationship with you, constantly watching you, giving you freedom to make decisions under his supervision and guidance. A father who, when he notices you make some bad decisions, lovingly nudges you back toward the sandbox. That's a good father. Doesn't this sound like the Garden of Eden? The kind of freedom God always intended for humans. He provided a whole garden to play in. Just one tree forbidden to eat from. Tons of freedom and choice with specific boundaries. You, as a man, need to know there is someone more powerful than you, smarter than you, more loving than you, more knowledgeable than you. And he is actively guiding you. He is smiling down on you and helping you through life. And then there's this other subchapter that has to do with this called calling versus assignments. Calling is a word we hear a lot in Christian circles, and frankly, I hate how often it's misused. What's your calling? Where has God called you? These are big questions that often paralyze us because we seldom get a specific answer. But no wonder we run into trouble here. We are confusing calling with assignments. Calling is large. Calling is the gifting over your life, the wiring, the way you operate in the world. Calling is a thing friends or people around you constantly ask you about. It's the collection of ideas and activities you are most passionate about. It's the theme that has been woven into your DNA. Your calling is more like the circle than the dot, the sandbox rather than the bullseye. In other words, calling isn't a specific job. This is where people run into trouble. They want their calling to be specific. But when you expect to receive crystal clear instructions from God to pursue a specific job, there's a good chance you are setting yourself up for disillusionment and frustration. He says, take my story above. In the previous subchapter, he talked about people observing giftings in him and themes in his life of ministry. And so they were like, oh, you're going to be a pastor. So he says, people saw a lot of gifts and passions in my life that seemed suited for ministry. So they assumed that being a pastor was my calling. But my calling is wider and deeper than that specific job. My calling includes having a prophetic voice that gets people to rethink how they are doing things in their normal lives. My calling is to be a status quo shaker-upper, as one of my friends used to say. And guess what? There are a million different assignments for that calling. Within the sandbox of having a prophetic voice and disrupting the status quo, there are plenty of different bullseyes that are legitimate options. You may not have a specific assignment right now. If you do have one, you can trust that God will make it super clear to you. But you definitely have a calling. And finding your calling doesn't necessarily involve receiving a sign or some sort of definitive communication from God. Just pay attention to the way he's wired you. Notice your gifts and passions. Listen to the things godly people say about you and the things that make your heart come alive. Then go play in the sandbox. If you are in the right sandbox, you will be ready when your assignment becomes clear. I love this because... And the reason why I'm heading on purpose is because we're headed into a new year. And some people, again, just feel very specifically, they know what they're going to accomplish and where they're headed this year. And some people are just sort of like, Lord, I'm at the top of a brand new year. And I want to serve you. I want to feel fulfilled in what I do, but I just don't know what it is. Like, help me. And I have conversations with dozens of, it's dudes that feel this frustration and this like almost, I don't know, worthlessness tied to not knowing exactly what their calling is. This subchapter really, really helped me understand the calling versus assignments thing. And it made me a lot more confident in walking out an assignment rather than having to be, because so Chandler said this thing to me, like when we were going through this book where he was like, he's like, man, if I make being a pastor my calling, because like a lot of people be like, oh, you were called to be a pastor. Well, if I made being a pastor, like being up on stage preaching the word, my calling, the second that I lose my voice or damage my vocal cords or whatever, then my calling goes away. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, do you lose your total identity and purpose and what God called you to do if one of the tools gets taken away for you to be able to do the job? You can't do that anymore. Doesn't mean that you're not. So your calling, the calling is actually broader, and the calling is being a shepherd. And there's lots of different assignments within that. So Lucas's calling is to be a shepherd, and his specific assignment is to be the senior pastor leading this flock here at this church. But he has a pastoral heart. So if that opportunity came to an end, whether, maybe he got injured or something happened and he couldn't be up on stage preaching and leading these people through, he'd find a way to continue the shepherding through a different method, because that's the broad calling. But the assignment, it's not like, well, because that one assignment went away, you're screwed. There's no way to like honor God anymore. You're never going to find your satisfying purpose anymore because of that. And so, man, this really struck me, like the bullseye thing, the sandbox, and made me a lot more confident to say, all right, Lord, you've given me the mind of Christ. You've given me a sound mind. I know where the edges of my box are. I know the giftings you've given me and my passions and how you've wired me. And now I can just serve in that sandbox. And so it's been really encouraging and life-giving to me, but also I hope it's freeing for a lot of people to hear this for the first time.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you mentioned the idea of like losing your voice, right? Because I've got a pastor friend that's exactly what happened to him. So he was a pastor for 30-something years, had a big, didn't need a microphone to fill up auditoriums, big booming, like bass baritone voice that was, everybody had him do narrations. It's like his voice was always the voice of God and something. And he was a very like strong, powerful preacher. Retires, is doing a bunch of interim work, has some vocal nodes, and they decided to remove him, and they paralyzed one of his vocal cords. And it took him years to get over because he felt like the only value he had in God's kingdom was to preach. And that it took him just a really long time to figure that back out, and definitely to get back into the pulpit, because his voice is, and you can listen to recordings here now, like it's so much different than what it used to be. Like it's not weak now by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a little raspy. Yeah. It doesn't carry the weight that it used to. And when that was part of your, you felt like that was part of the force of the personality that you had whenever you're speaking and those kinds of things, like it's a big thing to lose. Yeah. And then, likewise, I had a friend by no fault of his own, which is a weird thing to say, that he no longer was pastoring a church. This was been mid-70s, and he took a stand with some of the families in the community that needed help. And a lot of the people that went to this church were commuters from a more affluent area because their parents had started it. And so they weren't willing to do things to serve the community around them for a myriad of reasons, a lot of socioeconomic reasons. And so he said, if that's the case, if we're not going to allow the people that are across the street from us to become members of our church, then, I can't pastor here. And had kind of the same thing of like, okay, Lord, I did what you wanted me to do. I did the righteous thing, right? I tried to convince them. I tried to lead them when they wouldn't do it. It was like the people I'm supposed to lead are the ones that are around the community, right? So now what do I do? And he's in this spot where his identity's shaken because he left everything to pursue the calling of being a pastor. There are a lot of those things that happen in our lives where we have something that's very important to us taken away from us. I mean, I don't know how much of this you've shared on the podcast, right? Like your path to the NFL was one that stalled because of an injury, and then music became not just a passion of yours, but a source of income. Yep. Right. Josh was talking on, not Josh. Me. Yeah. Good Josh. Was talking last week on the podcast about, gigging with you and how like that was one of his primary sources of income, right? Because you guys were doing so much. And, that was something that, there were some, like, what specifically is it that is preventing you from being able to do that full time, or at least at the level that you used to? Yeah,
that's funny because that's what I was going to bring this up as an illustration.
Well, I was going to preempt it. Yeah.
I was going to ask as well.
Yeah.
So the I think it's probably a node, vocal nodes, the ENT that I met with about my voice told me because of my
like, were you
asthma.
getting tired?
No. So like I noticed that I wasn't able to, it's kind of like, you know, when your voice gets lower when you're sick.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of, and you don't feel like you have any upper register. And then as you start, if you tried to talk higher, you're playing with your kids, you make a high pitched sound, it's just air.
Yeah.
Like, it was that, but all the time. And it would happen in songs where I just literally had nothing above trying to sing up, like.
And they didn't think it was puberty.
No, yeah. I mean, no. Joke's on you. Thanks a lot. I went through puberty at 25. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, so I wasn't able to, just had no power behind my voice. And then it was just air a lot of times. Like it would just, I couldn't hit any note. I was straining to meet certain notes. And I was like, this doesn't feel anything like what singing used to be like. It used to be really easy for me to sing. And so I went to an ENT, and they were asking me a billion questions, and then I was on this corticosteroid inhaler for my lungs, and the guy was like, man, he's like, it's unfortunate, but I've seen this happen with a few people, that he's like, Symbicort is a corticosteroid. It's really good for your lungs to help, to be able to help lower inflammation in your lungs, but sometimes it can cause soft tissue damage, and your vocal cords are soft tissue. And so he thinks there's scarring or just tissue damage in the vocal cords that cause me to not be able to sing. And so, because nodes, like if it is a node, which we didn't do a scope, because after he kind of told me like it's either one of these two things, they're not very good options, and the outlook for them for singing is really not great.
Yeah.
And his option was to try to get off Symbicort and then like give my body time to try to heal and see if it improved at all, and nothing really improved. And
so, it's almost like 3 to 6 months of like nearly no talking is what you have to do, right? Like if you're a professional singer and that's your only gig, like that's one thing, right? You can take 6 months off a tour, and you can, you know, go and be quiet in your home somewhere. Right. You know, but if
the real world,
right? Like if singing is your job and you've got to do it multiple times a week in order to earn a living, it's a much different thing.
It's real frustrating, man. And that was the way that we were making money for a long time. Like we would play festivals and weddings and wedding receptions, and you know, and then even in between those, playing coffee shops and playing like the restaurants on the square, like just gigging, you know. And we would actually always get gigs by playing those. Like LSA Burger was our favorite place to play, on the square, on the rooftop. And then every single night we played, there'd be someone like, hey, can you sing at my wedding? I'm like, sweet. So it was just a way to get gigs. But man, it was really cool. We did that a lot. But yeah, my voice started struggling, and then COVID happened, and then after that, I was pretty much done singing. But what was really frustrating was like I felt all my life, I was like, man, you have this gift, and this gift, I'm trying to honor God with this gift, and I feel like, well, this is my purpose. Like this is part of my purpose. It's to, you know, I want to use this gifting He gave me, this my singing and playing and songwriting, and be able to share that with people and to glorify God with it. And then when that started going away, I was like really confused, because I'm like, Lord, I'm literally using this gift to serve You. I'm using this gift to minister to other people and to serve You, to glorify You. I don't know why You just took it away. And I was really frustrated about that. But like this, understanding it in this way, it's like, okay, what is the broader...
That was just one of the things in your sandbox.
That's one assignment, right? Yeah. But the calling, what is the calling? Because if I think the calling's to sing, I missed the point. The assignment, singing was an assignment. But my voice went away. Now does my calling go away? No. What was the broad calling? The broad calling was to help people to see Jesus and to love Him, to help people walk in deeper fellowship with Him, for me to tell people about Jesus, for me to use all of who I am, my gifting, my passions, the way I'm wired, to glorify and honor Him, to bring Him glory, to help people to see Him and behold Him. That's like my broader calling. Okay, I could do that through music. I could sing a worship song, lead people into worship. I could sing a song that I wrote that inspires people and whatever. Okay, that's one way to do it. And again, for a long time, like football was the same way. Like I took it. Well, what is the broader calling with football? Using my giftings and the way He made me to maximize the glory that I bring Him through who I am and what He gave me. Okay, cool. But when I broke my leg, then I picked up music. And then I used music for a while. And then music went away. And it's like, okay, so, but now for a while I was like scared that it just always felt like something's just some major thing that I felt was a part of me and what I was doing, what I was supposed to do was just like completely taken away. But I'm realizing now, like, this is, I could lose whatever, right now I'm serving missionary, the podcast or whatever, like that could go away tomorrow and I would still have my calling. I would still have a way, but I feel more confident now because I understand this is the way that he works and the way his will is. And I think I shared this with my Uncle Preston. I was trying to figure out 2015, I got a job offer in Hawaii to go lead worship out there and to work as like a project admin for this construction thing at the church. And I didn't know if I was supposed to go out there. Like it was a good opportunity and I was going to get to go to Hawaii, but it was also going to be brutal. I was going to be like there for, I was probably going to be working 60 hours a week at the church and not getting paid very much at all and whatever. And far away from, my family here in Texas. I'd be closer to my family in Hawaii, but, they're all, a lot of them don't have any room in their house to like host us and stuff. And so it was going to be a stretch. And I mean us because I was dating Kim at the time and she was going to move out there, but we weren't going to live together because we weren't married yet. So we'd have to live separate and that's just more stress, Anyway, I didn't know what God wanted me to do. And so I was like praying and I wanted to hear specifically from him, like, yes, go do this or don't. And sometimes he answers you like that. And sometimes he's like, I've given you a sound mind. Right from wrong. What brings me glory and honor. And a lot of it has to do with your intention in your heart. And so you make the decision, But Preston, my uncle, was telling me this thing in wisdom because I just wanted to know the answer. He was like, I didn't have kids at the time, but this stuck with me because I was imagining what it would be like to have kids. And he said, he's like, you've seen a good dad. I'm like, yeah. He's like, you have a good dad. And, he had my grandpa, he's a good man. And so he's like, my mom's dad's a good man. I mean, and so he was like, imagine a little boy trying his best to get like a little plate of cookies and some milk for his dad. Dad comes in the kitchen. There's like cookie crumbs all over the place. Maybe one of the plates broke. There's milk spilled all over the counter. But at the end of the day, it was like this little boy's trying to offer this to his dad. And it's this crumbled up cookies on a plate and, the cup's 1/8 filled with milk. And he's like, Dad, I got this for you. He's like, is he going to be angry about the mess and miss what was given to him? Or do you think he's going to say, and I see your heart in this. Like maybe you made a mess, but your offering to me was something that is pleasing to me. And I was like, he's like, I'm just trying to get you to understand, like get you out of this mindset that God is looking at you and going, dude, you made a huge mess. You missed the mark completely. Like nope, that's not it. That's not it. You didn't get it. He's looking at you and saying, like, if your intention is to honor and to please him, he's like, you can't go wrong, man. And that was comforting as well. And so, like, I didn't get a clear answer from the Lord on, like, the sky didn't part and he didn't come down and be like, yes, take this.
Hey, dummy.
$36,000 a year job in Hawaii. And, he didn't say that. He said, I've given you wisdom. I've put good people around you and your goal is to honor me and to glorify me in what you do. Okay. Now I'm going to empower you to do that thing. Yeah. And that was like, but that was, again, that was like over 10 years ago. And I'm still learning this. I'm still, just trying to understand how to navigate God's will and plan for your life. But stuff like this is really, really helpful. But yeah, Lucas, so to answer your question, like full circle, losing those opportunities was really disorienting, especially when I wasn't as mature in my faith and when I didn't understand how God's will for my life worked or his purposes or his plans and his calling for my life. But now I can look back and I can see his faithfulness to me, and then I can make sense of what's behind me a little bit more. Because at the time, especially losing my voice and not being stepping down from church because essentially one of the reasons being I could not continue to sing. I literally had to have other people on the worship team lead a majority of the set, and I would sing background for some of those songs, and then I would eke my way through a verse or two here and there during worship set. I went from leading 3 songs out of 4 to then leading a tiny part of one of the 4 songs or 5 songs, however I remember doing that on a Sunday. And then just really some Sundays not even being able to sing at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so his calling for my life, it had to be broader than just that specific use of the gifting and the specific assignment. And now I see it better and more clear. And so now I trust him moving into the future. I'm not worried about something being taken away from me in an assignment, because I have my broader calling and I know I can always do something related to that calling to bring him glory. So.
Yeah, I think one of the big things from your story that I really appreciate is that you were willing to let other people sing because you still felt like you were called to that assignment, or still on that assignment. And this is a thing that for many people they struggle with, and that's that they want new direction from God, and they want God to show them something, and God to do something big in their life. And I want to know where God wants me. And one of the questions I ask as a pastor is, are you doing what He's asked you to do
already?
Yeah, right. Like, are you doing? I was listening to a sermon from a pastor a few weeks ago from actually one of JP's pastors, Pastor Tyron, was talking about stuff, and he, the question he asked is, "Are you doing the last thing God asked you to do?"
Yeah, there you go.
And it's one of those that's like, oh, well, maybe. Like, and if you think about it, He's not gonna send you immediately to step 3 if you haven't done step 2.
Right.
And I related it a little bit to my boys. Levi got his very first. Cause you say he's pretty responsible for a 3-year-old. That means nothing. But like he's pretty with it, and he likes puzzles and all those kinds of things, which are really fun. But we can give him the regular Legos. Yeah. He can't do like the massive 2,000 piece sets or anything yet, but you can give him, like the small like character sets with the little motorbike, and it'll take us a little bit to get through it, but he's doing it.
That's cool.
We cannot give those to our other son. He'll immediately eat them. Right? Like he can do the Duplos and like the mechanics of it he's figuring out right now. But if you give him the little Legos, he's cutting some teeth and he wants to know how they taste.
Yeah.
So there are, if we were to just sit him down in front of one of those sets, like we're going to be at the doctor's office and we're going to be sifting stool for, however many days, trying to make sure we, with the instructions to make sure like, all right, I think this is the piece of Iron Man's head, like put it over there so we got proper inventory, right? Yeah. Whereas with our other son, he's been through all those steps, right? He's responsible enough to be able to handle the next thing. I think, oftentimes do not evaluate ourselves well when it comes to things like that. Like, I'm ready to do the next thing.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm responsible enough, but I haven't been faithful in doing the thing that I was supposed to do. We see that a lot with people who volunteer, like especially in the kids space. They're like, I think I'm going to help out in kids ministry. It's like, cool. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, you know what? I think I'm ready for like my next, for the next assignment from the Lord. I felt called to do it and I did it. It's like, you didn't. You really didn't. You did too. Like, you don't have a single relationship with a kid or a parent. You don't know what this is like.
2 Sundays.
Yeah,
That's 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
That's 2 times.
You haven't actually developed, and they're 2 times spread out over 2 months.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of those things that they're like, no, I did the thing that the Lord called me to do. It's like, you started it, and that's one of the major, I think, kind of hitches in people actually doing what they're supposed to do.
I can't imagine how often you see that in your position. Like,
and it's not just kids ministry. I think is the easy one because people get really gung ho about it and they're like, I'm gonna help the next generation. I'm gonna make a difference. And then you get one Sunday where none of the kids got their medication before they came, and they're all just like bouncing off the walls and trying to show you YouTube
or it's a holiday
videos.
and they were up till 10 o'clock.
Exactly, right. And then you realize like, hey, this is going to take a lot of work, and you're like, no, I did what God called me to do. I did it. And we want the gold star, but we don't want to actually be good at those
I think
things.
that translates to jiu-jitsu too.
It's
like
100%,
how many people do you see where they're like, that guy got his blue belt, I'm ready for my blue belt. At most, I don't know, maybe by the time you get to purple, it dies out a little, but like.
I mean, tomorrow is the anniversary of me being a top 10 white belt in the world. like quite literally. But doing that one competition didn't put me in a category above anybody else. And there are some people who, like, they don't have they're not developing their jiu-jitsu skills, But they'll do something like that. They'll be like, why did he get his blue belt? I'm competing all the time. Well, you're losing all the time.
Right.
You're making the same dumb mistakes. You're not listening to the coaches. You're not doing any of the things that you're supposed to be
Coaches
doing.
up here watching, they're like, we want you to know how to do
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, not just get a belt.
Yeah, my coach was so ashamed of me, he walked away from the mats. That's how terrible that was. No, he had somebody else that he had to coach.
Yeah,
That was,
yeah.
that
I
was
was going to say, that doesn't sound right.
No, he was a legit competitor. The fact that Formiga came to one of my matches and helped coach is just a testament to what a gem of a human he is. It was unnecessary for him to watch that failure. But yeah, to your point, like we make those comparisons of like, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I should have gotten X. And it's like, no, man, they shouldn't.
Yeah. It's a joke with me because I've been a purple belt for a long time, but like, this isn't a brag. Like, I know there's a lot of things I still don't know. So it's not even time. I mean, yeah, you can be an 8-year purple belt and not be ready for your brown because
funny as you mature, you start to do the opposite. It's like when I was a white belt, I'm like, give me my blue belt, man. And then I'm a blue belt. I'm like, God, I can't wait to be a freaking purple belt. And then now I'm a brown belt. I'm like, no, okay, well, it's the John Mayer, stop this train. I want to get off and go home again. But you just can't stop.
Yeah.
You can't stop it. But you start to feel it's the opposite because wisdom and experience now tell me there's so much more to learn.
Yeah.
I'm not coming from a place of like, I'm ready. It's like, dude, I'm realizing what's ahead of me, and I'm thinking, man,
there's a lot I still don't know.
Yeah, man. And just to your point, Lucas, I used to see that all the time when I was a worship leader. All the time, people that would come up and they'd say, "I've decided I'm going to serve on the worship team." I'm like, "Oh, good for you."
Congratulations!
I'm glad you decided that.
That's an awesome decision.
My pastor of the old church would be like, so Tyler Smith's dad, he'd be like, I remember we were talking about this because I was asking him for wisdom on how to navigate kind of these conversations I have with people who just come up and say, I want to do this thing, because there's some people who are like, make it like, God told me I need to serve, and so he's like, man, I get it. Sometimes people say, man, God told me I have a word to share with the church. And so I need, essentially give me the pulpit on Sunday.
Yeah.
He's like, well, God, they're like, God told me that I need to preach on Sunday. He's like, okay, well, hang tight, man. I'm going to wait for the Lord to tell me that too. And once he tells me that, then I'll know. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, well, just because you think that that's what you're going to do doesn't mean that you're shooting straight to black belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would get that all the time. And so what I would do is like, hey, look, and it was sort of a weeding out process, but it really was just about commitment. It was like, well, hey, come. And I know you do this too. Like you serve here in this place. And then once you prove faithful with the little, then I'll trust you with more.
Yeah.
And so, hey, come to worship practice for a month. Once it's 4 Wednesday nights. Come practice with us, sing with us, see how we operate. And then we can get a better feel for your voice and how you fit in with us. And then at the end of that month, then we could look at a schedule and see maybe on a Sunday when we can get you up there singing with us, And I probably had maybe one person that stuck it out for the whole month.
Yeah.
There were most of the people were just like, I'm not doing this because they're like, well, this is BS. I want to be on this stage singing right now.
God called me to be a singer. He didn't call me to be a rehearser.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, that actually is not scriptural at all.
No.
Right? Because we're as anybody that's skilled, that and then specifically for worship leaders, that we're supposed to be honing and refining those skills.
Exactly.
And if you're not willing to do that, then
that's it.
Then your heart's not in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a thing that we do at an assisted living community, and people that are like, oh, I want to help out with worship. We're like, cool. We'll start with helping to be one of the singers at the assisted living community whenever we go there. And go there, and one person in the last 10 years has taken us up on that offer, and it was Kirsten. Whenever she wanted to do it, is before we were dating.
Yeah. Dude, that's the heart of a servant. Like, so
she was like, "Yeah, cool. If that's what I need to do, then I really feel like God." What does it take to be a
worshiper? Is it just a good voice? No, it can't be. It has to be a heart posture. Yep. And so you prove the heart posture, not prove, but you refine the heart posture by, here's an opportunity. You want to worship the Lord on stage? Come worship the Lord through service to others here in this place. Yeah. And we'll see how that goes.
But why is it that God only wants you to sing on Easter? Right? Like, why?
There's a bunch of people and their families coming.
Why is it that it's only Christmas Eve and Easter that
so
the Lord really wants you? Yeah, like that's the thing.
There you go, dude.
And not everybody. No,
thinking
that.
Yeah, but that is one of the the things, you talk about a weeding out process. That's one of the ways that you do it is and this will, a much broader topic for another day. We've talked about this a little bit. The first chapter of spiritual leadership is about godly ambition. And the reason is because that there are a lot of times when we come at our assignments with a selfish ambition, in the sense that we truly believe that God qualifies the people that he calls to do certain things. We often neglect to think that God will call us to do something because he wants us to go through the pain and the effort of refining and becoming better at that thing.
Man, my life is a testimony to that. I've learned over time. There's been so many times where I felt called to do something and okay, I'm going to do it. And then I like get in there going a billion miles an hour. And then he's like, yeah, what about the last thing? Like, what about if you thought you were going to get to this point unscathed with no scars or burns or without a sore back or whatever, like you're mistaken.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like he like walked it back. Like, no, come back here and you're going to do this all over again, but you're going to learn some lessons along the way. And I feel like, man, that's what he's done to me a few times in my life. Charge forward hard. And then he like in love, now I see it's love. He like walked me back and then I walked with him through all of it and then learned, and it ended up in a different place than I would have just on my own charged ahead. I learned over time. There were lessons to be learned and there were skills to pick up. Mm-hmm. And I see now, like, what's so cool is like, if you trust the Lord, you're walking with him and you're trying to do things that honor him in your intention. You want to honor him. He does this. Like, I realize for everything that he called me to do or assigned me to do, he prepared me in some other time of my life. I always joke about this, that I'm Slumdog Millionaire of whatever. For me, like I used to say this to my bosses at the title company, like Slumdog Millionaire of the title industry, because I know nothing about title insurance. I did jiu-jitsu with these guys. They said, hey, we think you'd be really good here. You want to come work with us? Cool. And well, I'm like, yeah, but I don't know anything about real estate. Like, nah, dude, we'll teach you the real estate stuff, but you've been building relationships with people and keeping in touch with them. And I've been essentially doing the business development side of my title job, but just in my personal life and keeping in touch with people and having good relationships with them and stewarding those relationships. Cool. Now you're prepared to do that over here. And there's a whole new process to learn here, Mm-hmm. And so it's even funny. Like I feel like that with, with the ministry. Like there's things that why am I doing this at a time in my life, doing public speaking? I don't like talking in front of people, like big crowds of people. Yeah, but that's probably a skill that God's going to use later on in your life. It's going to be a necessary skill. You're going to have to talk in front of people. Oh, okay. Well, and then, just all this other stuff, like serving in vocational ministry and doing these other things. I see God's faithfulness to me and allowing me to like essentially go to these little schools, learn how to do stuff, make mistakes. And then later in life, he's going to call on that experience, but he's going to reshape it and use it for a different purpose. And 100%. So it's been pretty cool to see that happen. But I see it in tons of people. And one of my favorite things is pointing it out in other people's lives. Like, you remember when you used to work at this place, and now, and like sometimes it's just so you can gain some appreciation for where you currently are. Sometimes, like, you remember how sucky that job was that you did back then? Remember when you were working for $8 an hour doing XYZ? Yeah, that was brutal, right? Okay, but now look where you are now, and God's gave you that experience so that you would have a heart full of gratitude to him right now, And so, anyway.
And sometimes it's those mistakes, right? The things that we learn from probably the best are our failures.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And the second sermon that I preached after I took over as pastor here, I bombed. I made two major errors. One is I lost my place in my script, and so I reread an entire 10 verses and didn't realize until I was halfway through, because I was so locked into the script and not what I was supposed to be doing. So that was a major mistake.
That's funny, man.
Thank you. And then the second was I leaned so much into the historical evidence of what I was talking about that I nearly neglected the scripture itself, even though I had read it twice.
So you did a history class.
Yeah, essentially, right? It was a history class with a little bit of gospel and 10 verses made to be 20. So that was a big thing. It like taught me several lessons about that. We had a young guy who we were training, and he's now serving as a pastor at a church about an hour from here. He preached his first message. And one of the things when we're training young pastors is we make them script out their message. They deliver the message so that they can kind of get their feet wet, get used to it. They do it from the pulpit so that they are used to the setting and all of that. And he did a great job. And Sunday comes around, and he starts preaching that message, and then says, I just feel the Holy Spirit taking me in another direction. It's tough, right? It's tough to be to have trusted somebody with shepherding the flock, and you're just sitting there and you're watching, and then there are train wrecks that were easier to watch than this. So we get done, and he is feeling really confident about it, and the people in the church were like, "Hey, you preached," and then like they they walked off. Yeah,
you were up there.
So we come in on Tuesday, and I asked him, I was like, all right, so how did you know, the Holy Spirit? He was like, I just felt it. I was like, cool, let's watch your sermon. And
Ew.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. And, we get about 10 minutes into it, and he's like, do we have to finish this? I was like, absolutely we do, 100%. Because if for no other reason than everyone in our congregation had to finish this, so you do too. So we get done and we're talking, and I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to beat you up, but maybe what the Holy Spirit is trying to teach you here is humility.
Yeah.
Because when you looked at all of the work and the effort that you put into it, man, you had the beginning of a great message. You were ready to kick something off that was going to be awesome. And that you were proud of, that we were proud of, that we all endorsed. It's like, and now you're in a position where we may not put you back up there because you've broken some trust.
Yeah.
You said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. You didn't follow through with that. And you got so caught up in the moment that you weren't able to discern what was you being excited with the idea that you had from this. And now he's doing phenomenal, but it's those lessons that, we take and we look at, and he could have easily said like, well, this means I'm in the wrong sandbox.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And instead of saying, you know what, the rake is the worst thing to build sandcastles with. Yeah. And so, and and just realizing, hey, you know what, will somebody please pass me the shovel and the bucket? I know I was using them earlier, and I don't know why I grabbed the rake, but the shovel and the bucket should probably be the tools that we use over here. It's like, yeah, cool. Yeah,
and have some experience using them, and exactly.
There you
That's
go.
a good analogy.
And so it was really great to see that from him and to see him grow. But also I do, as much as now he's like, I was not following the Holy Spirit, there's part of me that's like, I think maybe you were. Yeah. In the sense that like the
lesson
Lord
was
given. The Lord was like, hey, this idea that you have, if you're going to take it and run with it, I'm going to let you go. I will let you do this and have a soft landing, because in other settings it could have been a lot worse. But it's that whole idea that the calling on his life was to shepherd. The assignment for that day was to preach a message. He missed the assignment. It didn't change the calling. And when I made my mistake, it didn't change my calling either. My second sermon, and one of my best friends, I asked him, I was like, I felt weird about yesterday. He was like, it was not good. I'm like, oh crap. Knocked the first one out of the park. So now I've done one good one, one bad one. I got a lot of room to make up for it. And, almost 10 years later, I'm like, that second sermon, man. They're like, what do you want back? And I was like, I want the second sermon back. It's much better.
But that humility is like, John 15 talks about the branches that produce fruit, he prunes that they might produce more fruit. And it's like he disciplines those he loves. And you should see when you stumble and his grace is sufficient, and he didn't leave me. I messed up. I got prideful or whatever. I thought I had it, and I went out over where I had support and I fell. But I turned around and he wasn't gone. He was still with me. That's his faithfulness to you in this. And that's it's going to happen. Like as you pursue your assignment in the calling, in the sandbox, you go to that corner to dig, and you're trying to find the place where you fit in, or maybe you're right outside the sandbox. You're trying to get in. I'm trying to make this analogy work, but along the path of like finding out, like defining the edges of that sandbox and walking in the calling God has for you. You have to steward those assignments well, but it's like you never escape unscathed. There's always some scar that you get along the way, but you learn. And if you're smart, you burn your hand and then later you go, ooh, that was hot. I'm not going to do that again. But sometimes you just have to burn your hand. I feel like my son Zeke is very smart. And he's wise too. Like, I mean, just beyond having like a book smart, he's got a pretty good feel for just, he's got some integrity. But a lot of times I feel like he needs to learn via burned hand thing sometimes, which kind of sucks to see that. Cause I'm like, oh man, there's going to be times where you're like, all right, bro, go ahead. You do it your way. I've been on this planet longer than you. And I'm telling you, I've done it that way and it's not worked out. But he's like so persistent. I'm like, okay. And then it happens and he has to learn that way. But then sometimes that's just how we learn. And God knows that. And he's patient. He's walking with you. And you're going to get your hand burned sometimes. But if you're just in pursuit of like, Lord, I want to honor you. I want to please you. I want to live a life that glorifies and honors you. That doesn't mean you're going to escape unscathed. But it does mean he's never going to leave you. And at the end of it, you're going to have all this experience that benefits other people. And there's pain that he's going to use from your past to help encourage somebody that you're going to walk with, But I really wanted it to kick off just the year. I know we have an episode. The other episode is coming out. So this will be second week of January.
Yep.
But there's going to be people just still struggling with like, what is my assignment? What is my calling? Do I have to, what's the very specific job God wants me to do? And I'm just telling you, like, find peace in knowing that if you're pursuing him and you're walking with him, that it's actually broader than that. And sometimes if he wants you to work at a specific company for a specific person or start a specific business, he'll tell you that. Have peace in knowing that he's going to make it clear to you. But if you're praying to him and you're asking for discernment and he's not just like, talking audibly to you to give you the one specific thing, then just trust him. Just trust him enough to say, all right, Lord, but I know the sandbox you've assigned me to, or you've put me in, and I'm going to do this job that fits in that sandbox, and I'm going to give it all to you. And you're not going to go wrong. So, yeah. Y'all got anything else on that topic before we wrap?
No, sir.
Well, I guess we could get Josh. You're not on very often. I want you to pray for us, and then we'll have some announcements.
Okay.
So,
I guess. Lord, we thank you for this day and this time that we could come together. Lord, it's good to be back with my brothers. Lord, I thank you for the word we were given today and for us being able to sit here and discuss it. Thank you for our listeners listening, Lord. I pray it was a blessing to them and an encouragement. I know it was for me, especially in knowing what calling can be, Lord. And I pray you would use this word, let it go forward. Keep us safe, protect us, Lord, and bring us back safely next time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, bro. Well, hey, so we have a discipleship curriculum launching really soon. So from the time of this podcast, it shouldn't be very much longer before we get that up and running on our website. We are revamping our shop page, so we're going to have a lot more stuff out there. And then we have an event on January 24th. Is that right?
And I'm in town.
Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah, Victor Hugo.
Yeah.
So Victor is one of the current best in the world. One of the top 5 grapplers in the world. Extremely highly decorated. And man, he's phenomenal. One of the most exciting guys to watch. He's probably 6'5", but his jiu-jitsu is beautiful. He's not a big bruiser. His jiu-jitsu is like super technical. And he's amazing to watch. He calls his jiu-jitsu big man flow, and I can't wait to like get to learn from him. He's incredible. So everybody like who's in jiu-jitsu right now knows Victor Hugo. He wanted to donate his time. Like how it works with everybody is everybody that we've had on so far. Like our ministry has never paid a professor to come. We have never paid anyone to come. There are people who have given toward other people to make it easier for them to get here, and we've covered their flight and stuff, but we've never the offer of money was never the reason that someone came out, and we want to maintain that. And it's just so exciting when names like that are like, no, this is a cool thing. I want to be a part of it. I want to help support you guys. I think you guys are doing good work, and I just want to show up. And that was Victor too. I talked to him on the phone like a couple months ago, and he was just, oh, I think it's amazing what you guys are doing, and I want to come out and be a part of it. And so he's driving up from Austin on that Saturday to come share his knowledge with us for free. And so we hope you guys will take advantage of that. This seminar with him, it costs a lot of money. We put them on for free. We're always going to try to maintain free seminars for everyone, so that it's never a barrier of entry to come to our events or to hear the gospel that someone would have to pay to get in. So just come and support. And then in order to continue to make those things free, we would love your support. So as we head into the new year, I think by the time this comes out, I'll have sent out the year-end giving statements with kind of a specific giving goal for you guys. If you would consider, we talk about it all the time, but I'm asking like to drill down on this. If you guys would consider becoming a monthly donor, and I mean, it could be $10 a month, it could be, 10 grand a month, whatever you decide can afford. But whatever you can give in a consistent manner just helps us to be able to reach out further into the future, because now we're not, it's not fluctuating so much, but we have people who are committed to like, yeah, hey, I'm going to make this commitment to give. And we understand stuff happens. Like you're not on the hook for whatever, but just having some confidence with brothers and sisters walking shoulder to shoulder with us saying, yeah, I'll commit. I'm going to give $20 a month for this year, for 2026. And so it'd be really cool. I'm just making a push for that because we never really asked specifically for that, but please consider becoming a committed monthly donor, and let us know if you're committing to do that. Like reach out to us, because we'd love to I want to be able to say thank you to you, and just kind of maybe even share if you have questions about what some of our goals are for 2026 and beyond. We want to be able to share that with you so you can have some confidence in giving to the ministry. But we're so grateful for you considering that, being a part of this community, sharing the word, loving on and ministering to the people in your community. It's a blessing to get to do ministry with you guys and walk in community and fellowship with you. But, yeah, we love you. This has been the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu Podcast, episode 149.
Go train.